My Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us, Lord, from each and every evil. Jorgat Givanok, Hujvaj. Yo. Start of another day. That's good. That's really good. Oh, goodness gracious, where to begin? Where really to begin? I guess, I could just as easily begin with my thought behind sharing the Lord's Prayer as I start my day, and I'll confess that no pun intended. I'll confess that I haven't said the Lord's Prayer in a little while. And this morning I woke up after a wonderful night's sleep, and I found myself saying the Lord's Prayer. And as I finished saying the Lord's Prayer, I that's good. As I finished saying the Lord's Prayer, I found myself thinking to myself. I found myself thinking that of all the things in life that I value and cherish the most, it's my relationship with God. It really is. It's my faith. It's my faith in God. Man, in times such as we're going through right now with the global situation and the uncertainty of our future, it's so easy. It's so easy. The tendency. It's so easy to, if there were a God, why would God let something like this happen? And I learned a long time ago. That there is just some things that it's beyond understanding. I oftentimes think that I am, and you for that matter, are part of something so much bigger than we could even begin to comprehend. The our existence, if you want to call it that, is so much beyond. It's so much beyond the here and now, and it's my faith. It's my faith that ultimately I'm going someplace that is so beautiful and so wonderful. And I just gotta get through the trials and tribulations of the world within trials and tribulations of the world within which I find myself, and ultimately I'm going to end up in that beautiful place. And it's that hope and that faith that makes dealing with situations such as this easier, if it's even possible to use the word easy in dealing with a situation like this. But anyway, that is that was the thought going through my mind today as I wake up in this hotel. I'd be curious to know if Mike has been counting how many pillows my head has hit since I started this trip. This morning I was lying in bed. This morning, and I decided to go through my roll of film or roll of pictures in my phone. And it was quite fascinating, actually. I went all the way back to the beginning of this trip, and I was editing and deleting photos, and in doing so, I was seeing the photos, the little thumbnails that I would use for my videos, and I was seeing pictures of, Airlie Beach, the Whitsundays, the Sunshine Coast, the just going back over the course of a month, and it really puts it into perspective when you look at your travels, you look at your past through your photos. You can do that. Well, you can look at your past through your photos over the course of your lifetime, and that's that's the ultimate journey. Looking at your photos over the course of your lifetime, and remembering times. But today I was looking at the photos over the course of this trip, and well, what a trip it's been. Without question, what a trip it's been. And had I known then what I know now, would I still have taken the trip if I'd known that I was going to be, here in Australia, wondering whether I should get on a plane or not, wondering what's going to happen I don't know. I don't know if I would have taken the trip. I might not have. But you can't live in the past. You got to live in the present. And that's what I'm doing. So anyway, I found myself here in the, I was going to stay where I was. I was going to stay at that hotel where I was, the winery. I was going to stay there another night, but it would cost me about 18,000 points. And as the saying goes, points are precious. This hotel cost me 6,000 points. And, there's people out there that'll say, I can afford it. I can, whatever. You don't know what the future holds. You gotta live within your means and spend your points wisely. So anyway, I decided to come up here to Mornington, and I didn't know anything about Mornington. I just thought, with a name like Mornington, it's got to be a cute little village, a cute little, a nice little cozy little place. And boy, was I wrong. I looked at the map as I was coming into town to my hotel, and I could see that it wasn't a little village. It was a rather medium-sized city, so to speak. And I pulled in, and I was going down the main thoroughfare in town, and people were out and about. They were sitting at cafes, walking down the street. There was no social distancing to speak of. I mean, I didn't see any social distancing. And I think that there's enough, that's where the danger lies. There's enough of a percentage, a high enough of a percentage of people within our society that just don't get it. They just, either they don't get it or they get it and they don't care. And that's the biggest vulnerability that that we have. It's those people that don't get it, or the people that don't care when it comes to battling this thing. And it won't be until if it comes to that, the situation where you've got martial law and you've got troops walking down the street with loaded weapons, at that point in time, they'll get it. They'll get it real quick. And I pulled into this town yesterday, and I'm just looking around out the safety of my car windows, and I thought to myself, despite what Mark might want, I'm not going to do a walk and talk. I'm not going to get out. I'm not going to get out for the benefit of Mark back there in Michigan and do a walk and talk, down the streets of Mornington. And I found my way to a shopping mall, and I went into a supermarket there. And it wasn't too busy, but there were enough people. And I grabbed myself, coming in, I grabbed myself a paper bag, not a paper bag, a plastic bag that you'd put fruit in or something. And first thing I did was I took that plastic bag and I put it over my hand. And then using that hand with the paper plastic bag, I picked up a basket. And I walked through the supermarket with the basket on my arm and the plastic bag on my hand. And I went through and I picked up all my just whatever I thought that I might need or want. And all the while I was avoiding people. I would turn the corner and look down an aisle, and if there were 5 or 6 people in that aisle, I wouldn't go down it. And all the while I found myself thinking, am I just overreacting? Am I using, common sense? Where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line when it comes to finding a balance between senility and just losing your mind? I mean, it's not. I don't think Carla. By the way, I love this cup. Thank you, mate. And where do you draw the line? And you just do the, I find myself thinking, you just do the best you can. You use some common sense, and like anything in life, you do the best you can. And if it doesn't come out that way, if life doesn't turn out the way you want it, at least you can look back and you can say to yourself, you know what? I did the best I could. I really did the best that I could. Because life doesn't always go your way. And that's, that's just the way life is. But, what's important is to be able to reflect and look back on your life and ask yourself, did I do the best I could? Did I do the best I could? And if you did, then all is fine. But anyway, so now I'm going down to. I had booked a little place. My plan was to get on a ferry, and go across the water. They're about 45 minutes from here, 30 minutes from here. There's a ferry that'll take me across to the start of the Great Ocean Road. And my thought had been to take that ferry today, and I rented a small little apartment. Cute little place. It looks cute, at least. I rented a little place for 2 nights in a town called Ocean Grove, right across the water. You can Google it. Ocean Grove, Grove. And I found a little place there called Ocean Grove. And I rented a place for 2 nights. And last night I went to dinner, and I'm thinking to myself, what's my strategy? What am I going to do? And I started thinking about it, and Port Fairy is probably 2-3 hours west. And it's a small little town. It's a beautiful, beautiful little town. But it sits right next to a larger town, probably similar size to Mornington. And I was thinking about it last night, and I was talking to these women in the restaurant here who are locals. And they said that this coming weekend, I'm going to be up against the school break. So dependent availability might be affected as far as a place to stay and, how busy a place is and all that type of stuff. And I started thinking to myself, and I was asking them, I was saying, what are my other options? What are my other options? Where can I go that's like a remote, like a little village, a little someplace out of the way that's not going to be too busy and what have you. And they kept talking about the mountains. They kept talking about the mountains between here and Albury. There's some mountains up there, and there's little towns, little villages all around. I would say probably about an hour or two northeast of Melbourne. And I started looking at some of those places as far as a possibility. And then as I was walking back to my place, I thought, sometimes the answer is right under your nose and you don't realize it. And I don't know, I'm going to find out today, but I found myself thinking, maybe Ocean Grove is the place to go and hang low. Maybe, I don't know. I called Carlo. I said, what do you know about Ocean Grove? And he's been there, but he was a little reluctant, to tell me one thing or the other because of the unfortunate situation with the hotel near his place, which is, it's all good, Carlo. If you're watching this video, that's, who would have known that? But anyway, so I'm walking back and I'm thinking to myself, maybe Ocean Grove is the place to hang low for a week or two. And I don't know. I'm going to find out. And what appeals to me about Ocean Grove is that it's close enough to the big city. It's close enough to the services, the essential services. It's close enough to it all, but just far enough away that it could make the difference. And when I say close enough, it's close enough to an airport. It's close enough to, the medical facilities and what have you. And so maybe Ocean Grove is the spot. So I came back to the hotel. And I went on Airbnb and I started looking for a place in Ocean Grove. And you can designate an arrival date, a departure date, and subject to availability, you will see, what's there for you. So I did that. I typed in the whole month of April, just for curiosity. And there was no shortage of really nice, affordable places there in Ocean Grove. And as I looked through the list, and I'm looking at pictures, I'm looking at the rates, of course, how much is it? Because on Airbnb, I pay cash. I don't use points. So I'm looking at the rates of the places available, and I'm looking at the pictures, and I'm looking at the reviews and what have you. And there was one property that caught my attention. It's not where I'm staying tonight or tomorrow, but there was a property that caught my attention. The very first picture was the exterior of the home, and it was a beautiful home. It really was. It was called the Ocean Grove Resort. If you go on Airbnb and type in Ocean Grove, Victoria, you'll probably see it. It's called the Ocean Grove Resort. And I read a little bit about, I looked at the pictures of the interior. It was a beautiful home. It is a beautiful home. Just beautiful, beautifully furnished, everything. I mean, those pictures wouldn't lie. And then I started to read a little bit about the host. And I forget his name. His name doesn't matter, but he's an older man. and he's a lecturer. He's a retired lecturer, whatever the hell a lecturer is, and that's probably exactly what I need, a lecturer. So I found myself, so I'm reading his bio, and he's a lecturer, and his partner is a lady, and she is a caregiver. And as they describe their home, one room with a self-contained, a beautiful bedroom with a self-contained bathroom is on one end of the house, and on the other end of the house is their bathroom and their bedroom, and then the common area in between, the kitchen and what have you. And I'm looking at these pictures, and the one picture above them all that caught my attention was a picture in the bedroom, and up on the wall of the bedroom was the poem Desiderata. Desiderata. And I looked at that and I thought, my mom sent me that once. Desiderata. And I thought, I don't oftentimes look for meaning in things. I'm not one of those people that, look necessarily looks for meaning of any kind from, I don't look for signs and symbols and all that type of stuff. I just don't. I don't. Oftentimes I'll find it coincidental, but then there are those situations where coincidental becomes unbelievable. And so I dropped them a message, and I asked them if I could stay with them from Tuesday through Saturday or Tuesday through Friday. Told them a little bit about my situation. And I didn't tell them about this whole YouTube thing. No, that I don't, I gotta feel people out before, I gotta feel people out before I tell them about the whole YouTube thing. For right now, the whole YouTube thing is just between you and I, and that's it. Okay, and let's keep it that way. But anyway, so that's where I'm going. I'm gonna spend the week in Ocean Grove, and I'm just gonna hang low right now. And some of the other thoughts on my mind. Had a couple interesting conversations yesterday, and one of which was I was talking with a friend of mine. I hadn't talked to him in a long time. He's probably one of the very few people that I would put on one hand as far as calling them a true friend. If I need anything, they're there for me. And this guy, I call him Dr. Mike or Dr. Chase. And he's from Chicago originally. Highly educated man. He's an electrical engineer. He's in his, I want to say he's in his early 60s, maybe late 50s. And he's got, I think, a PhD and a couple masters and whatever. He's an electrical engineer. And I hadn't talked to him for a while. And as far as the political spectrum, he's on the far, far, far left. I mean, he would have voted for Bernie Sanders, to give you an idea as to how left this guy is. But I called him up, and we were talking about different things. And, I asked him, I said, did you pull your money out of the market? He said, no. He said, Tom, I lost $750,000. I said, $750,000? You lost $750,000? He said, yeah. He said, 300,000 of it was on Apple or something like that. He lost 300,000 in Apple or something. And I know it'll come back, but the older you get, the thought of it coming back before you going under, and I'm not talking about down under, is is more of a consideration, or less of a consideration, I should say. But anyway, so we continued our conversation, and the subject of his situation came up, where he may very well find himself out of job. He's working from home right now. He's working for a company that used to be a spinoff of Hewlett Packard. But we were just talking about different things. We were talking about, what his situation is, how much cash he's got, liquidity, all that kind of stuff. His family. He married a woman from Vietnam and brought the woman and her kids over, two girls. And he's got his 95-year-old mother-in-law living with him, this little Vietnamese woman living with him. And he's got a rather nice home. But I asked him at some point in time, I said, Mike, I said, a silly question. A rather silly question, but are you scared? I said, are you scared? Are you scared about all this? And he went on to talk about how he's, concerned, more concerned for his future and all that type of stuff. But I shared with him this thought. And I asked him, I said, I said, Mike, I said, I was talking to a client of mine, a guy by the name of Lee, down in the LA area. And I was talking to Lee the other day, and I threw something out there past Lee. And Lee's response was interesting in that Lee said to me, he said, Tom, you know what? About a month ago, you told me something. And I said, nah, that wouldn't happen. That wouldn't happen. And a week later it did. He said, and a few weeks ago you mentioned something. And I thought, nah, it's not going to happen. It's probably not going to happen. And it did. And the other day when you called me and said, they're going to shut down all of California, make us stay at home, I didn't believe you. I didn't think it would happen. And it did. And he said, anything. He said, so now, anything that you tell me, I would believe. And I went back to, this was in a conversation with Mike. And I said, Mike, what's the possibility, do you think, of finding yourself in a situation of significant civil unrest? What is that possibility that it reaches that point where you're living in a society of civil unrest? He said, well, I don't know. He said, I don't think so. And I said, let me tell you something. He said, what's that? I said, I'm on this community website called Nextdoor, which is a website of a lot of communities interlocked with each other, kind of like a Facebook for neighborhoods. And I've seen a couple posts over the last few days that kind of caught my attention. And the post was, there was a woman who put a post up telling people that she had a young man come and on her door asking for food. Now, in the post, she said it was a young black man. But the fact that it was a black man or a Chinese man or a Jewish man or whatever, it really doesn't matter, does it? That's what I'm talking about, how people have this tendency to describe, that it was a young black man that came knocking on my door, not just a young man. But anyway, back to the story. So this young man comes knocking on her door. begging for food. And I saw another post similar to that. And I thought, that's interesting. And having the analytical mind that I do, I'm driving down the road and I found myself thinking back to all those days when I was working on my house, cleaning the grout, painting the walls, doing all that different stuff. And on Saturday afternoons, I'd find myself listening to financial talk shows. And one of the things that always stuck out in my mind about these financial talk shows was the fact that the majority of Americans, the majority, don't have enough in their savings to cover an emergency $500 expenditure. And as I drove along, I found myself thinking, with so many people out of work, restaurants closing, all businesses, all retail stores closing, who are those people that are working in those places? Are those the people that probably don't have enough savings for $500 emergencies? And I thought, probably so. Probably so. And as I drove along, I found myself thinking, whereas today it's, and tomorrow, what is it going to be? Are they going to be as polite tomorrow, with a knock and a request for food? And is it potentially headed in that direction? Who knows? I don't know. I'm not Nostradamus or something like that. I'm not Nostradamus, but it's just kind of interesting, and that's part of my thought process, as far as do I get on a plane and go home, or do I stay here? And it's just an interesting thought. So I don't mean to be I don't mean to be doom and gloom, but it's imperative to stay informed and stay alert. But I was having another conversation with a guy yesterday, and in talking to him, this gentleman and his wife are somewhat, concerned and cautious and a little anxious about the whole situation. And I was talking to him and I said, you know what your greatest vulnerability is right now? Above everything else, I said, you know what your greatest vulnerability is when it comes to this whole situation? He said, no, what is it? I said, it's your son. He said, my son? I said, it's your son. Your son's your greatest vulnerability. Because when you and your wife are leaving the house, you're probably like me in that you're putting a plastic bag over your hand and doing what have you. You're probably a lot like me. But your son, and I don't know his son, perhaps maybe his son is the most conscientious, most responsible young person in the world. I don't know. But his son is coming and going. His son is going out into the world and coming back, and out into the world and coming back, and out into the world and coming back. I said, that's your greatest vulnerability right there, is that potential exposure to this whole thing. And he said, yeah. He said, you know what? He said, you're probably right. You're probably right. But anyway, so I need to get on with my day. Today is a Sunday, and I found myself in the shower washing all my various body parts. And I found myself thinking that I found myself thinking about the role, the purpose, the whatever of my videos, of my blog, and what have you. And I don't know. I mean, I want to find a balance between, I want to find a balance between sharing my thoughts and sharing my travels and my experiences, but I want to do so in a responsible way. I want to do so in a way that is sensitive to the situation that many of those watching my videos find themselves in. I don't want to be insensitive and what have you. It was like sitting down the other night to have a nice dinner in a boutique little winery. It's not a lot of fun. You know, it's really not. It's not really a lot of fun to sit there and have that and have that experience, knowing that there's people, wondering if whose door they should go knock on and ask if they've got some food. I don't I don't take a lot of joy. I don't take a lot of joy in that. But anyway, so it's finding a balance. And I thought to myself, I was taking my shower, I thought, my videos need to serve the purpose of support, encouragement, comfort, that type of thing. That's and it's a quid quo pro. I mean, that's a 50-cent word, or is that 3 50-cent words? Quid quo pro. Maybe that's 3 50-cent words. Maybe that's worth $1.50. Quid quo pro. But oh goodness gracious! I hope everybody out there knows what quid quo pro is. But it's a quid quo pro in that, just as I get a lot of support and encouragement from those of you out there that follow my videos. I want my videos to be supportive. I want my videos to be encouraging. I want my videos to be, informative. I want my videos to be thought provoking. And to some extent, I want my videos to be entertaining and just allow you, to get your mind off of things. So this morning I find myself in a place that I really didn't know existed. Well, I knew it existed, but I really didn't know that there was anything significant about it. And I find myself right here, the Mornington Peninsula, touring and trails map. And on the back, or where was it? On the inside, it says autumn. Autumn means snorkeling. Apples are in season, mulled cider, learning to play golf, taking a scenic drive, grazing your way around the region, strolls through the national parks, riding your bike along the Bay Trail. And I'm on my way down the Bay Trail. As I look at the map, I've got a big map right here. And I don't know how well you can see this, but maybe I can share this with you. Let's see, I can probably share this with you. Bring this camera around here. Oh, I got 24 people live. Wow. So this is the Mornington Peninsula, folks, right here. And the other night I stayed right here in Red Hill. And for the sake of conversation, Carlo lives about an hour somewhere up in this direction. So I stayed in Red Hill the other night, and now I took the drive up the highway to save 6,000 points, and I stayed in Mornington. Tonight, I'm staying somewhere over here, right over here. And I'll tell you, I'm not swimming across this. I'm going to get on a ferry and take the ferry across. You see? So I'm looking at this trail. I'm looking at this path, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, it's a Sunday. And I thought I was going to be doing the Great Ocean Road, but you know what? This might be a nice place to share with you. And what I'm going to do is when I finish this video, I'm going to get in my car and I'm going to do this drive. Did you know that Australia had a prime minister somewhere down here, and he went out for a swim while he was prime minister and he just disappeared? He did. He just disappeared. And there's all types of theories that the Japanese got him, and are holding him hostage. He was eaten by sharks. I don't know. But anyway, so I'm going to go do a little bit of a walk and talk and a little bit of a scenic drive. And I'm going to bring you along. And this area right around here, I think, is supposed to be, they have like $1 million walk or something. There's some beautiful homes right around here. And I'm not going to spend the whole day doing it, mind you, because ultimately I want to get to the safety and comfort of Ocean Grove right over here. Melbourne is just up here. So I'm going to do this. And you see the Esplanade Coastal Drive from Schnapper Point in Mornington with its scenic views over the water, past picturesque beach boxes all along the winding Esplanade through the village of Mount Martha and on to Safety Beach, approximately 12 kilometers away. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start right there, and then I'm just going to do a slow Sunday drive all the way down to Sorrento and catch myself a ferry. And I'm going to bring you along. And somewhere out here, there's an island. There's a famous island where you can go and every night. It's called the Parade of Penguins or something. I'm not gonna. I wish I could tell you I was gonna go do the Parade of Penguins, but I'm not. I guess the penguins come home every night and they come marching up the beach. These penguins. That would be a wonderful video. But remember the video I did with Michelle going to find the kangaroos at that beach? Remember that morning? That seems like a lifetime ago that I was driving through the pouring rain and walking through the pouring rain to see frickin' kangaroos on the beach. Can I say frickin'? Yeah, I can say frickin'. But anyway, that's the plan. And boy, this was a rather long video. You know what? I took that poem, Desiderata, and I put it in the description of this video. And I'm sure many of you have seen that before. But you know what? Take a moment and just read that poem again. And stop and think about each passage as you do. It's a wonderful poem. I sat there and I read it again last night. But read that poem. It's really a wonderful thing. So anyway, with that being said, I need to get on with my day. And everybody out there, boy, be safe. You know what? I should probably read the comments. Let me see who's commenting here. This has been a long video. Wow, 42 minutes. Karmazon. 11,300 coronavirus in New York City. Now the city that never sleeps is asleep. I made that same observation. Hello, Melissa. Talksman, you retracted your comment. I wish I was as calm as Tom. Yeah, nice. You wish you were as calm as me. What can I say? I don't know. I mean, I'm nervous. I'm afraid. I'm uncertain. I also have God. I also have faith. And that to me makes the difference. I know that come hell or high water, that I'm ultimately going to a better place. And it's just a matter of keeping the faith. It's a matter of keeping the faith and not being afraid. And sometimes that's easier said than done. It is. It's easier said than done. You listen to preachers all the time. Joel Osteen, all these preachers, they all say it. They all say, just keep the faith and everything will be okay. Well, you know what? Keeping the faith is not always so easy, especially in trying times. And if it weren't for the years that I've spent nurturing and developing and maintaining my relationship with Christ, I probably wouldn't be as calm. And goodness gracious, to be in some place right now like California or New York, or well, just to be in some place such as this thing we call Earth right now with all this stuff going on, it's unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. My friend told me that over in Vietnam, his wife has family that are still there. If you get sick in Vietnam and you don't go to the doctor or the hospital to get treated or diagnosed or taken care of, 12 years in prison. 12 years in prison. And I don't know if Hanoi Hilton is still open, but 12 years in prison. And if you do get sick and you get coronavirus, they post a guard outside your door. I said, come on, a guard? He said, yeah. He said, yeah, they don't have a lot to do over there. So yeah, they'll put guards in front of your door. They'll bring you food and what have you, but they put a guard in front of your door. I'm like, oh God. Oh, goodness gracious. All right, folks. Listen, take good care of yourselves, all right? Hang in there, and we'll get through this together. We'll get through it together. So anyway, take good care. As my dad would say, I love you all.